Have you wanted to get your book into bookstores? Have you wanted to do book signings with your book at your local bookstore? Don't go anywhere, because in a moment I'm going to show you how to get into those bookstores and how to do book signings. In fact, I'm also going to have a guest that's going to tell us how he, as a best-selling fiction and nonfiction author, has been able to get into multiple bookstores and get those important, coveted, photo-worthy book signings. Our next guest is going to answer that question and talk all about that. C. Ray Collins is a best-selling fiction and nonfiction author. Welcome back to the Michael D. Show, Claude.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Now, you've been doing a number of book signings in Dallas and around. I get this question all the time as a publisher. How can I land a book signing? What's your formula for success?
Persistence.
Okay.
It's not as complicated as it sounds, because really, first I pick up the phone and I call the bookstores, the local bookstore, with Barnes & Noble, Half Price Book, and I ask to speak, to the manager. And normally the manager is the person that makes that decision, especially with Half Price Books. And most of them are wanting to help the community. They want to stay, in with the community, so they'll do book signings. Now, you may have to wait a couple months before you can do the signing.
To get on the calendar.
Right.
But if you're patient, you can do it.
That's right. And so sometimes you call and say, well, they're not here. And then you always ask, well, can I have an email address? And that, I have actually done better with the email addresses than what I had before.
Well, it's a good point, because a lot of new authors, they don't follow up.
Right.
And I would say 90% of new authors that don't follow up, they're not going to get the call. They're not going to get on the calendar.
Right. And then with Barnes & Noble, they actually have a community relation person.
Right.
Okay. So that, in lots of cases, that is the manager.
Yep.
But sometimes it's somebody else. So that's the other thing you got to be sure of. You're speaking to the right person that sets up.
That's the title we were going to mention, community relationship manager. And not every Barnes & Noble is the same, depending in what city and state you are. It may be more corporate, or it may be more individual, community driven. I know you've done, like you said, Half Price Books, SMU bookstore here in Dallas. We've done book signings there. They love featuring local authors. Talk to me about this. Now, in this next segment, we're going to talk about why bookstores want to have you in their bookstores, because in the last 10 years, bookstore numbers in the U.S. have gone from 40,000 to 20,000 bookstores. But I'm going to tell you, as an author, if you want to get into those bookstores and get your books signed and your books on the bookshelf, we're going to show you how in this next segment. Stay tuned.